And we do have on the line now Olivier Guita, French security and terrorism expert with International Security and Geopolitical Risk Consultancy. Olivier Guita, after all these developments this morning and indeed yesterday and the various raids and stuff that have been going on, what is your assessment of the French security forces and how much they're on top of this operation at this stage?
Look, there are a couple of things that you have to remember is that most of the operation was planned both in Belgium and Syria, and the idea behind that was basically to evade French security services. Your audience should know that just 2 weeks ago, the Islamic State had made an audio tape telling their followers in Western Europe not to attack the homeland, but to attack a neighboring country in order basically to evade security services. And that's exactly what happened in this case. As far as the intel that they can get, it's interesting that allegedly the raid this morning was conducted on Moroccan information. So, because as you know, Abu Omar, the main ringleader, the Belgian, is from Moroccan extract. And Moroccan services have been very good at tracking down their own all over the world when they're linked to terrorism. So that's one thing to remember. So there's cooperation going on between the different services. As far as the different groups, there's one major question that has not been addressed by the media, is that in its claim of responsibility, Islamic State mentioned an attack in the 18th district of Paris, which never happened. But a car with Belgian plates was found yesterday, and I suspect, not going crazy, that possibly the raid today was on a cell that was supposed to attack on Friday night the 18th district.
Yes, because there are some reports coming in this lunchtime, just very fresh reports I'm seeing up on the screens in front of me, that some sources in Paris are saying that this group was about to launch another attack. So that would tally with your theory that this was a group, an unidentified group of attackers still left over from Friday night and still planning to do harm. The question is, was the mastermind, Mr. Abdel Hamid Aboud, was he with them?
Look, honestly, it could be remotely controlled. I mean, he had made the case in the past that he can, travel from Syria into Europe without any problems. But thinking about it, you have to know that, even if he's just the operational leader, the decision is allegedly being made by Al-Adnani, who was the spokesman of the Islamic State in Raqqa. So this comes from the top. Abu Omar is really one of the pawns. So whether he's there or not at this point is really moot, because he could remotely control it from Syria to say, I would say, or close to the same way. Mm-hmm. But the question is, after they find this cell, what about support? Because, if this cell was operational, which I think it was, and which I think was planned to do another string of attacks on Friday, then they must have had a lot of support. And, French security services are going to look at whatever connections they can find. So that's still very murky at the moment.
And one final question to you, Olivier Guita. As Tony was saying, there's a lot of support for President Hollande extending the state of emergency in France. As he said, this is war. We've seen these French air attacks being carried out on ISIL targets in Syria. On the other hand, there are a lot of echoes here of George Bush and his war on terror after 9/11. Do you think bombing is really going to be an effective way to go here?
Look, a couple of things. You have to remember that the public is demanding an answer. So all politicians have to play that game. They have to give and retaliate for the public to see that they're active. So that's one. The second thing that is the biggest thing is when it comes to terrorism, and I made that point about a year ago, because of the fact that the West didn't intervene in Syria going after Assad, and that Obama intervened in Iraq to basically save the Shias in August 2014, had made us, all of a sudden, the number one enemy of Islamic State. So until we understand that it's exactly what we did that is pushing a lot of people in the West to join Islamic State, and we understand the dynamics that going after Assad could be the solution to tame down this wave of violence and doing the right thing, we're going to be in trouble. So bombing is barely going to be enough. I mean, we've seen that in 16 months, the U.S. has not really made a dent on Islamic State. So I don't think that 20 French fighter jets or Russians are going to do anything if not for ground troops in the future.
All right. Well, as ever, thank you very much indeed for joining us this lunchtime. French security expert Olivier Guita there giving us his perspective. We leave developments in Paris for the moment.